an earlier program I showed how to use if and else tests. The only trouble was that in that example the value that these tested had already been assigned in my code. Look, here it is, age equals 70. So the value wasn't really capable of being changed while the program was running. That being so, you might say that the if and else tests weren't really needed because as the programmer I knew in advance exactly what the value of age was bound to be. But this sort of test is needed when the value assigned to a variable can change while the program is being run, and so the programmer does not know in advance what its value is going to be. Let's see an example. This is in 01_test_age. This asks the user to enter an age at the command prompt. It then assigns the value entered to the age string variable. In order to get input from the command prompt, I've used the gets function. This gets the text that's entered at the prompt and it assigns it to the variable between parentheses. This variable is treated as a string. That's a sequence of alphanumeric characters. In this case, my variable age string has been declared as an array of 10 characters. But my if test requires an integer variable. I convert the string age string to an integer using the a_to_I function. And I assign the result to the int variable named age. Once that's been done, the value of age can be tested against an integer value as I do here. But there's still a problem. What if the user enters some text that can't be converted to an integer? Well, let's try this out. First of all, let me enter something sensible. So I'll enter an integer, or actually this is a string that can be converted to an integer. It's a string containing the characters 5 and 0, and a_to_I converts that to the integer 50, and it does the calculation and it determines my bonus. Now let's enter something that can't be converted to an integer. Maybe I enter a string FIFTY for the value 50. Well, a_to_I can't deal with that. It doesn't know what that is supposed to represent. And look, this is the result. So when a_to_I tries to convert anything that it can't turn into an integer, it fails. And when it does that, it returns the value 0. But in my program, a return value of 0 is treated as a valid age. And a bonus is applied, and this message is displayed. That's clearly not what I intended, so how do I fix the problem? One simple solution to this problem is to test if the value of age is 0, and if it is, then you can take specific action. For example, you could display an error message. And only if it is not 0 would you continue to perform the normal tests. Now let's have a look in 02_test_age, and I'll also make this my active project, and you can see that that is what I have done here. In fact, this illustrates how to nest if and else tests. Let me scroll down so you can see all the relevant code. Here I test first if the value of age is 0. If it is, this message is displayed. You entered an invalid age, so your bonus cannot be calculated. If age has any other value, the code block following the first else executes. This block contains all the code between the outermost set of curly brackets, here and here. The code includes another if-else test. Remember that this second if-else test only executes when the first if test has failed, that is, when age was not 0. These types of nested if-else tests, one inside the other, are not uncommon in C programs or indeed in programs in other programming languages. However, be careful, don't overdo them. If you find in your code you've written lots of if-else tests that are nested one inside the other, and those levels of tests go more than one level deep, then that is going to become quite confusing, quite hard to understand. So if you find that you've written code with many nested levels of if or if-else tests, it's worth considering whether you should really rewrite the code to make it clearer and easier to understand. At any rate, let me show you this version of my program in action. So remember, age will be 0 if I try to convert a string that cannot be converted to an integer. Let's try that first. Run it. I will enter again 50, which caused a problem in the previous version. But this time I get a sensible error message. It tells me this is an invalid age. The program can't use it, so the bonus cannot be calculated. Let's try an age greater than 45 to match this test here. And this time the bonus is calculated, so the first part of the test, the if up here, has evaluated to false because age is not equal to 0. Then the else part is executed. Then this if test down here runs and it determines that the age is greater than 45. Okay, so that's a very simple example of using multiple tests, using if-else to solve this particular problem of an error condition occurring when I try to convert a string into an integer.